I'll request people to settle down. I just want to tell you a story. In 1993, with the interim constitution, and later in 1996, women thought their nemesis is defeated because of the constitution with its expansive Bill of Rights. Our constitution is celebrated worldwide as one of the best constitutions that also integrate socio-economic rights. However, so many years after, women are still subjected to gender-based violence, which means that there is really something that we're not doing right. Because in terms of the law, we have really covered women. However, practice, so what is practice? Practice is the life we live at home and everywhere else. So, which means that all of us have a responsibility. So I'm not going to waste time. I just wanted to share a story with you so that we are aware that women are subjected to gender-based violence despite this world celebrated legislation. I think it was in 2015 at the UN, they referred to the Sexual Offences Act of South Africa as one of the best legislation. However, women continue to be raped, which means that reaction doesn't work. What's important is prevention. Thank you very much. Without wasting time, I would like to call our Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Minister Maite Nkwane Mashabane. Thank you very much.
Program Director General of the Department for Women, Youth and People with Disabilities, Advocate Nkateko Joyce Maluleke, distinguished ministers of the Interministerial Committee. We are 6 in number, others are still on their way. With me here is the Minister for Social Development, Minister Lindy Wizulu, Minister General Tele, Minister of Police, and the Deputy Minister of our department, members of the media, civil society organizations that have managed to arrive, representative of provinces present here. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'd like to welcome you to this media launch of this year, 2020's 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children campaign. This year marks 22 years since South Africa embarked on the United Nations-led 16 Days of Activism campaign for no violence against women and children. The campaign takes place annually from the 25th of November to the 10th of December. This launch also takes place during the Disability Rights Awareness Month. Distinguished guests, as we continue to grapple with COVID-19 pandemic, our country is also faced, in particular women, with a second pandemic of gender-based violence and femicide. It is actually COVID-19 almost like opened a lead that women in South Africa are still carrying a heavy load. Because when we talk of unemployment, when we talk of poverty, when we talk of this abuse, and when we talk of femicide, those who get killed by the ones who are supposed to love them, you're talking about the women of South Africa. In fact, you will hear when Minister Cele speaks, we are, I'm told we've become number one in the negative sense on the GBVF in particular, femicide in the world. Hence, we have decided that 16 days is for our commitment to UN programs. But 365 days, South African women must feel and be safe, women and children, because their grandmothers fought for freedom, not only just for women, but for the entire country, as DG had said earlier on. Our women and children continue to live in a constant state of fear, as indicated earlier. And I said Minister would give us the latest statistics. Our focus with this 16 days of violence against women and children should be to continue our efforts of ending all forms of violence against women. The theme for this year's campaign is Women's Economic Justice for a Non-Violent and Non-Sexist South Africa. Women's Economic Justice for a Non-Violent and Non-Sexist South Africa. I repeat this because half of our women die in the hands of those who should be loving them because of the inequality gap between men and women in our country that Oxfam is releasing a report upon as we speak. Throughout this theme, our focus is on the importance of women's economic empowerment as an integral component of efforts to eradicate gender-based violence and femicide and build a non-sexist South Africa, the one that's in our constitution. Live our constitution. I like the theme of the Men's Parliament this week of Takwani Rime. If we're doing this in action, this enemy we could defeat, working together. Therefore, the campaign will be aligned to Pillar 2 and Pillar 5 of the National Strategic Plan, focusing on prevention and rebuilding social cohesion, that's Pillar 2, and 5, on building on women's economic power. One woman empowered, it's a family empowered. And in fact, that's how she'll see the signs and start making a move so that she doesn't die because she died because she was going to be looked after. Because women are capable of all these things. That's why we say you strike the woman, you strike the rock. We will also highlight the significance of 6 pillars of the NSP under the broader 365 days of behavioral change campaign. Every day when we wake up, every day when you go to sleep, there mustn't be that there's a woman screaming next door and you say, "Hi, asendaba yami leyo." You should, civil society, traditional leaders, traditional healers, people who are leaders and elders in the neighborhood. That's why we have joined the program of the district development mode. No woman must die in the hands of somebody and we were around. There's no woman who dies in space. They die at a locality. And women don't die on the first intimidation. Minister Telet once shared a story with me that there was a woman whose husband tried to kill her 6 times. 7th time, he was lucky. And she's gone. The cases we have been dealing with, particularly in the month of June, has been horrifying. South Africans, tauja toka seboka, tishitwa kinare ithuja. This is a self-inflicted pain, but it's one way. It's men who are supposed to be protecting women and loving them and their children, who look at a 1-year-old child and think, this is old enough. When our conscience says, if you say someone had said yes and they said no, should be above 16. But mitolele magaimo, le ngwana wa 1 year gets raped. Women are saying no. No means no, and enough is enough. We want to see this enough, it's enough in action. We want to see progressive men who said they want to join this campaign doing it in action. It mustn't be another hobby, because women don't die half and come back some other day. They die once and they leave misery behind, because women are also caregivers. Even under COVID-19, the people who are at the front, in the true sense of the word, starting from their household, out there where they are nurses and policewomen, those who do their work diligently would be women. While we appreciate all the interventions, I believe that prevention remains the key element in turning the tide against gender-based violence and femicide. We're making a call to society to make this prevention a reality. A call to civil society and to all leaders on local level, be it at the district, be it at the local municipality, be in a village, or be it in the city. Can we please stop this? Can we please not look the other way? This is our business. You become an accomplice by looking the other way because you think this is not about you. It's about all of us. We must make women and girl children of South Africa feel safe and be safe. Yes, the police will do their part. Yes, my colleagues here will do their part. But it's not a governmental problem alone. Government continues with the NSP, with the IMC, with all other mechanisms that we're coming up with. Would come up with the council through legislation. These are all we are here 24 hours. Our department does absolutely nothing else but this. But one day in June this year, Minister Kele called me at 12 at night. And he said, so my sister, what do you want me to do? To place a policeman next to the bedroom of each and every of our adults? Because many of the places we have been, Minister, you arrive, the woman had been killed 3 days back, the husband had killed her and locked up and took the keys away with him. And when relatives say, hey, we haven't seen our daughter for so many days, that's when they realize that the smell that comes through that door, tells them a story. Some were hanged, some were killed at the post office, the story goes on and on. Like President Ramaphosa had said, this is not equal. Women don't ask to be harassed. They don't ask to be raped. They don't rape themselves. They don't kill themselves. It's inferior men with low esteem who think it is their business to remove those who should be under their thumb. Maybe they learned this from patriarchy. So as we say, let's raise boy children correctly. We have a generation that's dying now. So action should be led by prevention, and prevention would be even through media. Please do not only focus on the statistic. Can you please help us deal with this matter of prevention? Can you not be in the space where you are, but you know when sunset you can change and become something else? Because I have come across many civil servants, even at the place of work, who would say, Minister, I want to do my best, I want to do this, but I'm also abused when I get back home. So what must I do? Say, run, my dear girl. Run while the running is still good. There is no building of a family by a woman beaten up every night. You cannot build by destroying somebody psychologically and mentally. South Africa is suffering. Maybe from the pain of the past that we haven't really dealt with, but can we please protect our women? So the theme of this year highlights the role women play at the world of work, as I said earlier on. But we also want more and more women to access opportunities. Do away with unfair treatment, that before they get a job somewhere, they should have slept with the boss. And they must then counted as equal to men in this male-dominated society, be it in a government job or in business and in every walks of their life. It also links women's ability to live like Kroa, the abusive relationship which they endure due to economic dependency. With regard to action towards women's economic empowerment, we note with appreciation that several actions have been taken towards building women's empowerment. By the way, when we say women's empowerment, I just want to reiterate that in the department, we are responsible, working together with social development and my colleagues, for 3 sectors: women, disabled women, youth, disabled youth, young men and women, and those who are generally dealing with disability, and the LGBTQI+. They are and they need our protection. They don't need our mercy. They need our protection and our respect. And we must always be out there to prevent that they get hurt while we were standing there watching. I would never forget the day we had a meeting in Beachwood. One blind, very pretty lady came to me and said, somebody walked past here with a cologne that smells so much like my uncle, my uncle's one. Because when I'm at home, he rapes me every evening. Oh. And his cologne is very similar to the one that had just walked past here. She refused to give us the name of the Malume, but She came from KZN. We reported the matter. I hope they'll find Malume and remind Malume that, Malume, this is your niece. All she needs from you is love and protection, even if she's unable to see. The aim is to ensure safe workplaces, as I said earlier on, and make sure that we bury the scourge, which has become a second pandemic to our women, even as we sign another convention with the ILO 190C190 in Geneva. We will sign all these conventions, but Oksalayo, we must come back home and act. As a country, we have made a commitment to earmark 40%, that is back to economic empowerment, of preferential procurement for women-led business nationally. South Africa is very good in coming up with this, life-changing initiatives. But all we are short of is the doing. One day we were saying with Comrade Lindy, Zulu Minister, sometimes you feel like making people say, stand up, let's see these women you are talking about. Because it can be good on paper, or it can only be about those you know, but it does not reach the poorest of the poor. So, Takwani Rime, men and women, let's make sure that this 40% set aside becomes a reality. Our economy is hurting, but women even more. Women would be capacitated on business registration, compliance, procurement, regulatory provisions, financial literacy, marketing tools, and access to market and access to finance and opportunities. Access also to land for them to do what they're good at. A training manual is being developed in this regard. These are some of the initiatives to be implemented to ensure that women fully gain their rightful place in the economy and the society in South Africa. The campaign targets South African women at national, provincial, district level with the following objectives. 1, to strengthen the implementation of the National Strategic Plan by all social partners, to expand on to the call to action for men as partners and boys to stand against rape, sexual abuse, killing and maiming of women and children. Lastly, to increase awareness and drive change in relation to negative social norms and behavior. This will be done through multiple platforms, sectors, and activism. Now, having said what I said, may I make this call before the 25th of November and before the President speaks to the nation tomorrow. Having experienced persistent and horrific nature and scourge of gender-based violence and femicide in our country, we are making a call upon the nation to recommit to programmatic interventions to repair the social fabric of our nation by eradicating ills and build a society where morality take prevalence. Recommit to efforts of building communities grounded on the pursuit of creating equality, lasting prosperity in the country. These values involve respect to human life and basic honesty in the way persons and officials act in communion with one another and authorities. Build men and women who understand the true meaning of words such as honesty and integrity, and who have respect for the rights of others. By the way, we were not invited to fight for freedom. We made our own little contribution. Our four bears, Bulilien Ngoi, Bumme Charlotte Matege, Bumme Sisulu, and many others, they led us well, and I'm sure we thought when we get into the New South Africa, this will be gone. But we have scars which we must deal with, which bring issues of mental health. I think as we fight COVID-19, we'll also be talking to the Minister of Health as to what do we do with this. Healing needs to take place, yes, but we need to foster greater religious tolerance and cooperation for moral renewal. Can we please talk to our religious sector that we are calling on them to support, but can our children be safe even at church? Let's establish a new society where men and women will enjoy equal rights and improve elimination of the system that exploits women to achieve economic justice. Build a society where the ultimate goal is to create an opportunity for each person to establish a sufficient material foundation upon which to have a significant, productive, and creative livelihoods. COVID is still here with us. We will continue to protect lives, but we have a responsibility to make livelihoods grow. By that, we will be opening space for women in the economic sector. Program Director, government continues to fight the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide in the country within the framework of the strategic plan. The Interministerial Committee and the colleagues that I mentioned earlier on are here, and we are guided by the 6 pillars which I had already referred to. As part of the institutionalization of and the implementation of the National Strategy Plan, a number of processes have been employed by the department to enforce accountability, provide leadership coordination. We are working with various departments, even beyond the IMC, to prepare and submit weekly reports to the President on the progress made in the implementation of the targets we've set for ourselves in the National Strategy Plan. The department has successfully advocated for inclusion of gender-based violence even at meetings of government officials. So there is no corner of government or of a civil servant who should say, we did not know that this is happening. As part of the build-up to the 16 days of Activism campaign, the department is in collaboration with the taxi industry on gender sensitizing training. You know, because our trains have been, particularly the sports, have been tampered with at the height of COVID. More than 16 million commuters, particularly women, depend on taxis to and from their place of work. So we thought it was important that they must also feel safe in that space. So the focus I've spoken about is of training. We started with the presidents of Santako and the NTO. NTA. We are participating in their programs as they saying they're doing a build-up towards the festive season. I don't know what kind of a festive season are we going to have in the middle of COVID, because we really are not ready for a second wave. But we are talking to everyone who cares to listen, and we'll continue training these people, these taxi drivers and taxi owners, so that we reduce the scourge against our women. The first activity of this 16 days of activism will be the raising or the hoisting of the flag half-mast at the union buildings and across the 9 provinces and across the nation for 5 days, starting from tomorrow onwards. We are appealing through you that we mourn the loss of our loved ones, be it through COVID-19 or through gender-based violence and femicide. We wear black as we mourn, at least for 5 days, starting tomorrow. President will speak to us in the afternoon from 5 o'clock or 17 hours to 19:30 or 7:30 in a conversation with us virtually, so that none of us should say, I was not there, I didn't listen. It will be live on television. There will be people phoning in to listen to what the president was saying. We were going to Eastern Cape, but as we had already finalized the preparations, the figures of new infections for COVID-19 just shot up. And that's why we were unable to take the president to Eastern Cape. But however, he'll be taking questions, he'll be communicating with all of us virtually. The objective of this dialogue is to seek a broad range of voices in the hope of reaching South Africans to work together to end gender-based violence and femicide. We will continue on this journey, counting on you. Please don't look another way. Enough is enough. 16 days, it means every day we should be having an activity that talks to all the sectors that I said we should all work together to protect. After the launch, hands on the deck. On the 3rd of December, we will also be doing another call, this time focusing on people with disability, with the president. And we count on you again that you will hit the call, because these are our brothers and sisters. We want all these scourges to come to an end. And enough is enough. No means no. Yes means yes. There's no yes, no. So you don't look the other way, but you're also helping us in prevention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Minister has emphasized on COVID-19 and the second pandemic, and most of the time you'll find people wearing a mask like this, covering the chin. We don't cover the chin, we must cover the nose. So let's make sure that we protect ourselves and protect others. Again, I'm going to say something. I think 3 administrations back, there was a commissioner who was appointed as the commissioner of police. I saw an interview on TV. When he was interviewed, the interviewer said, "What is your wish? What is your dream?" And he said, "My dream is to see a 16-year-old girl walking in the streets in South Africa, holding a cell phone, fearing no evil." I started praying for him from then. And that is the same minister who's here. He has not changed. The message is consistent: to see a 16-year-old girl walking in the streets, fearing no evil. I won't waste time. I'd like to call Minister Vekindele to come to the podium.
Program Director, you want me to break the law?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Police breaking the law. The Minister in the Presidency of Women, Youth, Persons with Disability, Mayor Maite, Kwan Mashabane, Mayor Lindiwe Zulu, DSD, Mayor Professor Mkhize, Deputy, and the media at large and the people that are here, good morning. Crimes committed against women and children in this country are at crisis level. It is during the 16 days of Activism campaign against these crimes that the spotlight once again shines on our country's shame. But that should not be only limited to these 16 days. The torch must never be removed to shine over this shame. But calls by women and children not to be harassed, assaulted, abused, raped or killed have been ongoing for some time now. These calls are definite that somebody must keep on listening. The second quarter of the national crime statistics reflected crimes reported between July and September 2020. Worryingly, people they know and people they love and people they trust often confront women with violence. While the crime statistics show a decrease of about 16.8% in the number of sexual offenses on the reported period, over 8,000 rape cases were reported to the police in those 3 months alone. 8,000 women were raped in 3 months alone. Yes, it's gone down, but that 8,000 is a number. Many of the rapes occurred in public places such as parks, beaches, parking areas, or open fields, which means women are not safe everywhere they go. But worryingly, ministers, they happened at the educational institutions, workplace, and churches. I heard you calling on churches. I have a double eye of looking at churches of late, I must say. I can't just stand and say because you're in church is fine. We still have to put our eyes on churches. Something is happening there. But worryingly, the majority of women were raped in their homes or at the home of the perpetrators. The majority of these 8,000. Yes, they are raped on the public place. Yes, they are raped on beaches. Yes, they are raped in parks. But the majority of them are raped where they're supposed to be safe. So there where we are calling this societal involvement. When they are raped in these places, when they are killed in these places, when I phoned you on that day, because this place here in Pretoria, a boyfriend who was staying with a girlfriend in the parents' places, killed the girlfriend, and went to the parents to request the money to go to work, having locked the house and having killed the daughter. Now, I was saying, I don't know what to do, Minister, because they are living together for 5 years. Now, really, I can't send the police to look after people that are in love for 5 years, and killing where is supposed to be most safe. But that call can't stand and stop with the police. That call goes to the society, goes to friends, goes to families. It's true, very rare if it happens that a woman is killed on the first conflict. They are killed on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. It is on that score that we make the call to the South African police members to say, when a woman comes to report, don't tell the woman to go back and negotiate. Police are not negotiators. Arrest that person. She will come for the first time, come for the second time, tell her to go and report or negotiate. She won't come for the third time, not because she's tired, because she's dead. That's why she doesn't come for the third time. So it's important that police and all of us work on that. But please, friends, please, families, put your eyes on your friend. Look at your friend and say there's something wrong with you. What has happened? And advise. And parents, but it's worth with families and friends sometimes, ministers, where they force women to go and withdraw the cases. Because that uncle and that colony, because it's an uncle, don't bring embarrassment here. What will we say when we take uncle to court and all that? I'm very glad that justice is working on those laws, that even if the victim withdraws, the government and the state must proceed to prosecute those people. They should not stop because there are thousands of cases that are withdrawn, and are withdrawn on the insistence of the families, on the insistence of the friends. Sometimes babula limbuzi, they slaughter the goat and say the goat will cleanse. Akho kazi lembuzi ezoclean rape la. Akho kazi lembuzi ezoclean rape. So those people must go there. So I'm emphasizing this point because majority of these people, they suffer on the places where they're supposed to be safe. They suffer in the hands of the people that they want or they say they love them. So it's important that we take that one up. The reality is that women and children face violence at home, at work, and even at place, as I've said, at school, in churches, and over. Violence is also meted on them in places meant to provide them with comfort, such as churches. Women are also violated in fields as they work the land. Much less is said about female farm workers who endure abuse and violence in the hands of some in the farming community. Yesterday I met some unions, farm unions, black in South Africa. There were women, 2 women amongst them. One is a doctor, medical doctor, who dropped and became a farmer. They say the thing that we usually talk about in the farms is a racial issue where farmers, they abuse farm workers. There is a double jeopardy for women there. Not just as farm workers, but as women. Women sometimes, they are forced to pay their crimes through their bodies by the farm owners. They say for you to stay here, you'll have to sleep with me. And they are raped, they give birth to kids of rape, and usually we look at the suffering of the farm workers. There is an extra that we need to look at it, women there, especially those dominated areas, your mines. You talk about your taxi industry. You saw that's one place where widows, they really suffer. And they put a lot of pressure in that particular industry and a lot of violence in that industry. Well, there's a lot of violence. 5 people have been just killed as we speak here at Nyanga taxi rank this morning. So that does not just stop there. it also goes beyond. Two women have a double jeopardy as those things don't happen. Yes, police are to prevent and combat some of these crimes committed against women where possible. I just want to make this call, ministers. We need to double our effort on prevention. I've been looking at the statistics. There is a lot of good work on reaction. I'll give you some little bit of figures here. But by the time you react, the woman is dead. And is not going to come back because somebody is doing life. The woman is raped. And so on our work, when we react, when we take them to court, when we arrest them, we'll have to increase our efforts on prevention and making sure that these things does not happen. So the society, the friends, the everybody must be really part of this going forward. But it also all to us promote spaces in our communities where women and children can feel safe. That is by prevention. We all can agree that some in the SABC, I've raised this point, of SABC that are members of SABC that are bad themselves, of which is a thing that we're trying to work on them, to work on those station level problems, ministers. We are training the special group of people that will keep the rape or abuse reported deaths. Rather than you going to police station and find anybody and everybody to report, it should be a dedicated desk, a person that will understand, a person that will have sympathy. But there is this theory to say women respond better. When I agree, but there are bad ones. There are bad ones too. So while we try to increase the women, because it's easier for a woman to tell a woman how we were raped. So train them, keep them there permanently, and it will help two things. They'll begin to understand how serious this thing is, but also we'll be able to know as the leadership who sits on that desk in that particular, so that if you do something wrong, we are easy to respond. We are working on our specializing committees on this one, specializing units like your FCS. We do see some results, though, as I've said, these results, they come late. When you look at this FCS that has been revamped 10 years, 2010, it was cancelled, but it was revamped. We have managed since then to send 5,534 people in life. Life. Not that they are doing 50 years, 30 years, 20 years. They are doing life. Well, it's life, then parole and all, but the police, they do the work, they investigate. For you to get life, which means somebody did the good job, for the magistrate and the judge to send you to life. Those people are 5,534. Between July and September, and we have sent 94 people to life in 3 months. They're doing life. But last week, we have sentenced 4 people, 3 in Gauteng and 1 in KZN. Those 4 people, they received 22 lives. Therefore, they received 20 last week. We are trying all the time to improve on this FCS, putting more resources, training more people, putting more numbers. For instance, again, I will say this about Basinanda, they are fighting me now. Ugutinanda, for the last 4 years, it leads on rape in the Republic of South Africa as a station. So we've increased, we've put more cars there, we've elevated the leadership there to colonels and captains, both, I don't know what are the KZN men eating, because Inanda leads, Umlazi is second. So, in rapes. So, I just don't know. So, but we respond on those things. So, these are the figures that this unit is working on them. DG, that dream cannot be deferred. That dream cannot be put aside. That dream cannot be put aside. Let me verbatim go back to that dream I said in 2010. Our wish and our vision is in the middle of the night. We see a woman, we had at the time a young woman, walking alone at 2 o'clock in the morning from the middle of the night, from point A to point B, without any fear and without anybody accompanying her. Without any fear of rape, abuse, and attack. And be safe and be sure that is safe, but not only her, even the parents and the friends and surrounding, they must make it sure that she is safe. I said the thing because I was in Germany, where I saw about 2 coming from the soccer match. I saw the young ladies, there were 4, and they were nice. Nice. And I said to the driver, stop, I want to speak to them. It was about 2 in the morning. They say, in German will be a taboo. The nation here is not just the police, protects the women. It's a pride of nation that women are free. Let's make that. Let's make it one of our pride as a nation, that in South Africa, women are free, they can walk alone. So men must, even this from me, ministers, this thing of men protecting women, it doesn't sit very well. Women need space, they don't need to be protected. They need space, they are full human beings, they can think, they can do, they just need space. Nobody qualifies us to protect them. They can, they are able, they are capable. Everybody give women the space to do their things, to protect. Men must understand that women are not there for their pleasure. Women are there, are not half human beings. They don't have half human rights. They are full-fledged human beings and they have full rights. Men, turn away and allow women to grow. Give them the space, they will run. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Most of the time, people ask questions, does 16 days make any difference? I would like to say that I was there in 1998 when the then Deputy Minister, the late Minister Manto Shabalala Msengmang, when she launched it. After the launch of the 16 days in 1998, gender-based violence and femicide ceased to be a private matter. It became a public matter. Everybody talks about it. The media talks about it. Everybody talks about it to show that 16 days does have a serious impact because people come out and talk. You know, we always talk about women, youth and persons with disabilities as people who are vulnerable. Minister Zulu is responsible for the most vulnerable people in our country. Young persons, children who don't get grants and all those things. But also she's responsible for civil society organizations. Civil society organizations get funding from Minister Zulu. And she is dedicated to ensuring that all of us contribute to the eradication of gender-based violence. As you are aware that the President had established an IMC, interministerial committee. That is a committee of ministers. Our minister, Minister Minister Zulu, Minister of Justice, Minister Lamula, Minister of Finance, Minister Mboweni, and Minister of Public Service, Minister Mkhun, who have to ensure that there's coordination in addressing gender-based violence and that we all take responsibility, because their role now is not just to react. Their role is to ensure that they talk to communities, they call communities to action, because as both ministers have already indicated, gender-based violence will not end as long as we react. That means all of us have to do something. There's a Zulu word, I'm Shangan, but there's a Zulu word that I like, where they say, inkomi sematoleni, inkunzi sematoleni. That means we need to grow them to be responsible people. So how we grow children, how we nurture and teach our brothers and sisters how to be responsible people in life. Minister Zulu, I hope one day you will tell us how much you give to civil society, as they always complain that they are not funded, and we know that you fund them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Oh, I'll have to thank you very much, Program Director. You left the stage with a question of how much do we spend in support of NPOs and NGOs. I will tell you the figure because it sits in my head all the time. It is 7.6 billion, and that is quite a sizable amount of money that comes from taxpayers to support the extension of the work of government through NPOs and NGOs. Thank you very much, Minister Nkwana Mashabane, for inviting us today. Your department obviously is the lead in ensuring that we all in government, not just myself, Minister Tele, all the ministers and deputy ministers who are in government, we all are supposed to have very effective and very impactful programs in government which are supposed to help us deal with the scourge of violence against women and children. As I stand here, I do wish to actually thank the ministers and deputy ministers who, on daily basis, they don't have to wait for 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children. I know that 365 days, one way or the other, these ministers find time and space, and deputy ministers, to raise the alarm or to shine the torch that General Tele spoke about. Shine the torch or shine the light on the scourge of violence against women and children.
Government there launching the 16 days of activism. We will return to that briefing.
Is no more. Stanelisiwe Mhlangu is no more. Uyenene Mkhwetjana is no more. Is no more. And this one is the one that pains me most because she was just a baby. A real baby. Tsekofatsho Pule Naledi is no more. Nompumelelo Chaka is no more. Alicia Koche is no more. Nwabisa Mgwadela is no more. Nomfazi Gabada is no more. Lindelwa Penny is no more. The list could go on and on.
but it is possible for us to stop it. It is possible for us collectively, individually, community, house to house, street to street, community to community. It is possible for us to end it all so that maybe, Minister Ngwane Mashaban, when we come next year, God willing, if we are still here, when we come back here next year again to talk about the 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children, we will not have this long list that I am reading, because this list is but just a tiny winsy bit of the bigger list of people that we have lost. Only just this year I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about other years. And Minister Ngwane Mashabane, you refer back to the first launch of 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children. That was 22 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. 22 years ago. Now, what nation can launch that campaign and repeatedly come, and we as ministers and deputy ministers, we come and stand here in front of you and say we are launching this campaign, and 22 years down the line, the list of the women and children who are killed seems to be extending than being shortened. The
people who are out there, who are doing everything they can to support government programs, to support action against women, against the violence against women and children, I wish to thank them. Minister Ngwane Mashabane, Minister Celi, and Deputy Minister Mkhize. We work with these people all the time. We work with these people almost on a daily basis. People who are organizations that are supporting people with disabilities, people who are organizations that wake up in the morning to commit themselves to just stopping this carnage, if I may call it. When we were in KZN with Minister Ngwane Mashabane, I said GBV and F. It looks like we are now singing a song, Minister. Everybody just says GBVF, GBV and F. And I said to Minister, let's call it what it is. What it is the brutalization, is the abuse, is the raping, and is the killing of women and girls. That's what it should be called. I respect the GBVF as a term that is used globally and all, but I think if we call it what it is, maybe it will touch the hearts and minds of those who are actually thinking that it is okay to be abusive. The most difficult element of this is what Minister Celi said. Ukuthi abantu ababulala omama nengane, abantu abahlala nabo emakhaya, abantu ababaziyo next door. La eSouth Africa kunali batho ba philang fela ba tseba gore ga go next door re na le utlwa di screams mara ba etse nix. Kunali batho ba bonang mosadi a fihla ko mosebetsing azamilo with tasaka makeup, hiding the scars, hiding the bruises. Look, maybe one or two people will ask what happened, and guess what? She won't tell the truth. She'll tell you she fell, she'll tell you the door knocked her, she'll tell you all kinds of stories. And the reason why women would do that, they would be protecting the person who violated them with the hope that maybe today the situation will be better. The situation will never be better. And it starts with small little things, just a push, just a shout, just verbal abuse, just a whole range of actions that point you to the point where emo hawaluka mo, but we still sitting there. So isicelo sethu siwuhulumende ka-African National Congress, isicelo sethu, isicelo esidluliswa now president at all times, ukuthi kwanele ukuthi wena olapho ekhaya uma ubona into engajwayelekanga, uma uzwa izwi lo mama ekhala kabuhlungu, uma uzwa izwi lengane ikhala, sukuma wenze something. Ungathi hayi kwa neighbor, it has nothing to do with me. So when the ministers talk about prevention, that is the way to go. We need to do everything we can to make sure that we prevent this violence against women and children. Also, we talk about 16 days. It's important for us to do the 16 days because we take that opportunity of the 16 days to highlight. But what is more important is for us to act, and act now, and act all the time, so that we prevent this. You see, the painful part of it is, in the eyes of the global community, gender-based violence, femicide. I learned of a new word, ministers yesterday. It's called filicide. I went and I googled it because I've got these highly educated people in my space. Some of them are sitting here. So I went and looked. Filicide. It is something. It's the killing of children by either the parents or something. Okay, we can put it in the form of the dictionary, in the sense of maybe somebody who is a family member killing a child. But when you look at it, we are a nation, we are family, all of us. So the killing of our children really is a very unfortunate situation, and therefore this is one of the smelliest and putrefying self-inflicted wound to the nation. Because of their unbearable social and economic costs, they should be switched off, or else women will switch off society, literally. Of course, we are supposed to use a language that is not scary, a language that is not whatever, but I think, ministers, at this point in time, we cannot afford, as a nation, to be nice about something that is not nice. I was talking to my office the other day and saying, we are trying to protect ourselves so much against COVID-19, and I was saying the economy is slowly opening up. People are slowly moving back to trying to normalize an abnormal life. And I was saying tourists love this country, and sometime during COVID-19, South Africa was said to be the next best destination for people post-COVID, if there's something called post-COVID. And I was saying to the office, we need to work as hard as we possibly can, because one of the things we cannot afford is to get people wanting to visit our country, and then there's this blot. They read all the beautiful things about South Africa, all of a sudden they come up across this problem of violence against women and children. And in my view, it's not just the issue of violence against women and children. I think, ministers and deputy minister, the issue of violence in South Africa is a problem, where people think the best way of resolving a problem is to be violent. And one understands the historical background, the brutalization of our people, and the unjust laws and everything that put people in this space. But we must do something in the behavior, change the behavior of our people. Because Minister, we are now working with the taxi industry, and they are being assisted in appreciating and understanding how they need to treat their customers, their clients. But the biggest sufferers at the taxi ranks or inside the taxi is usually women. Most of the time, it is women. Now, we need to deal with violence in general and get rid of violence in our society and in our community. But we need, of course, to focus more on gender-based violence. So, as we launch 16 days of activism on no violence against women and children, the 365 days that we need to talk about is about ensuring we have programs and projects at a district level. Now we know where the hotspots are, and COVID actually pushed us into finding the hotspots. Now that we know where the hotspots are, Minister Cele just mentioned, and he's asking the question, what's wrong in KZN? What's wrong in the Northwest? What's wrong in Limpopo? What's wrong in the provinces that have hotspots? How can we have hotspots of violence against women? How can we have hotspots on rape? How can we have hotspots of this nature when we are a nation that actually can be able to deal with this issue? So for us, 365 days, we also have a child protection program of action. It is an initiative to strengthen government's commitment and response towards prevention for and protection of children against violence, child abuse, neglect, and exploitation. The purpose is to scale up interventions geared towards promotion and protection of the rights of children during this difficult period of COVID-19 pandemic. The campaign is integrated with the 7 Inspire strategies for ending violence against children, which is a technical package for preventing and responding to violence against children. We as a Department of Social Development, we are responsible for the well-being of citizens across the board, all citizens. And therefore, the issue of children for us is at the center. But also, we think, Minister Nkwane Mashabane, we need to raise the issue of the child, because we talk about women, and I mean, when I was reading that list, and as I was looking at the list, there's a lot of children who are there. And I think that the issue of women and children, it's okay, but we must also focus on the child. One, it is the parents who must not lose sight of their children. If you go to the township any moment, you'll be shocked at little ones who are walking on their own. You know, sometimes I feel like stopping and getting out of the car and asking, whose child is this? Now, it's unfortunate that we have to now have the eyes that Minister Undosi is talking about, of looking twice, 3 times. But we have to look twice, 3 times. And it's a plea from us as a Department of Social Development. Parents, know where your children are. Don't lose sight of your children, because it is painful to visit a family of a child who died, who was raped and killed, and when you get to the family, they say, no, we didn't see her in the day, we didn't see her in the night because sicabanga ukuthi ulele kubochomi, asimbonanga because becabanga ukuthi ulele kwa auntie. You cannot do that. Ucabange ukuthi umntwana ulele kwa auntie or kubochomi. Those days are gone. Those were the days when we used to walk around almost half naked and nobody cared, nobody would do anything. Today it's not like that at all. The situation has changed. So the Department of Social Development, for instance, has been part and parcel and instrumental in the development of the strategy, which has 6 pillars. As a department, we are leading on the implementation of Pillar 4. And Pillar 4 is response, care, support, and healing. I added to the department to say that there's response, care, support, and healing. I also said, guys, let's not forget the empowerment. I know the next pillar deals with empowerment, but within social development itself, we must talk about response, care, support, and healing. And in the words of Minister Begitele, the issue of prevention, and Minister Maitenkwane Mashabane also spoke to the issue of prevention. I think that when we put all these things of response, care, support, and healing, we should start with prevention, actually. So the pillar seeks to ensure that every survivor of GBV has access to appropriate and sensitive response, care, and support that facilitates effective containment, medium to long term. It recognizes that effective response, care, and support is integral to healing and comprehensively working towards eradication of GBVF in our country. Since March 2020, we have seen an increase in the intake of GBV cases in the command center. We have a command center which ministers, you will be invited to the opening of that command center. And I was doing an interview, I can't remember, yesterday or day before yesterday, and I was saying, people are saying we need to build more and more shelters, more and more of this. And I was saying, yes, we have to build those because we need to create space for women. But I don't think it's something that I can be very proud of, that every now and then we're building the shelters, we are increasing the shelters, we're doing that. We have to have places of safety for women because they want to go and learn a skill, they want to improve their lives. It mustn't be we are building all these shelters because women are running away. We must look at the cause for women running away and begin to address that. We have also established the National Emergency Response Team, which provides psychosocial support to individuals and communities affected by trauma, violence, or disaster. In strengthening the provision of psychosocial support services, we have increased the number of social workers rendering GBV services with additional 200 new employees. 120 of these social workers have been trained on advanced trauma management as well as the management of trauma related to COVID-19. With regard to care and support, the department is responsible for the establishment of shelters for women as well as Kuselega One-Stop Center. To this effect, we have established a partnership with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, which has allocated buildings for use to the said facilities. In fact, I do really wish to thank Minister Patricia de Lille, because one of the things that she has done, she's really gone out to find those spaces, those buildings that are either dilapidated or abandoned, and she's asking us to fix them, and we have to work with other departments to make sure that we fix them and we turn them into the shelters and centers. But the centers, the shelters that we are also talking about are shelters which are not just for hiding away from the problem. It's about empowering the women so that they make the right decision not to go back to an abusive environment. Much as my department is responsible for Pillar 4, we also render services in line with other pillars of the strategy. As an example, my department has executed the implementation of social behavioral change programs to influence change. Myself and the Minister of Health, Minister Zweli Mkhize, we have a meeting with civil society and other organizations whose sole responsibility is to focus on behavioral change. And I think that we need to support the men and the women out there who are taking their time to assist us in ensuring that in churches, in communities, they talk about this behavioral change. There are men who have come together, who have stood up and said, we are going to be the change agents. And it is at this point that I really wish to thank all the men of South Africa who are standing up and saying, not in our name. We have successfully reached all 9 provinces in various initiatives such as Men's Parliament, Boys' Assemblies, as well as the Men and Boys Championing Change programs. The initiative of Boys and Men Championing Change program, which is implemented under the banner Takuwani Rime Men's Movement. I think Minister referred to them. They were in the Men's Parliament in the past few weeks, and they spoke there. A call to action for men by men to stand up and be counted as relevant. The movement seeks to mobilize men's association to join together with their partners to strengthen civil society, especially men's response and campaigns, including fighting against GBV. We have also initiated a program called Asikhulume Interfaith Religious Sector, Asikhulumeni Interfaith Religious Sector, where we engage the religious sector and mobilize their involvement and buy-in in our efforts to eliminate GBV in our country. To date, we have launched the program in 2 provinces, KZN and Mpumalanga. We will be launching in other provinces, Free State, Gauteng and Eastern Cape, during the 16 days of activism of no violence against women. We have also a role to play to promote society that is free from GBV and supports gender equality, that upholds the human rights of women and girls in our country. We all know that no government department can address this problem alone. The department therefore works in partnership with civil society organizations with the aim of curbing the scourge. We have also been providing the necessary support through capacity building and funding of CSOs rendering GBV services. A total of 168 CSOs have been funded from the Criminal Assets Recovery Account, which is called CARA. An amount of 22.5 million has been transferred in the first tranche payment to the organizations, and a balance of 22.5 million is committed to the second tranche payments that will be transferred before the end of the 16 days of activism. I do want to say, Minister, this program is being housed by the National Development Agency, which is an agency within the Department of Social Development. The call, obviously, that we would like to make is that for those organizations that receive these funds, we would like to see the impact. We would like to see the change. We don't want to be moving around the country and giving checks, and then 6 months down the line we come back to check what is happening and we find that they not actually are serving our communities. So it's important for us that we support organizations that are out there, that are doing but there are many organizations that have actually stood up. The latest being Act Now. Men who walked from here to KZN, they walked 500 and something kilometers, Minister Tele, with one woman amongst them. You know that woman. She's giving you a bit of trouble sometimes. They walked all those kilometers and they said, Minister, every kilometer we are walking is dedicated to the families of the people who lost their women and children. They said, we are a group of men and one woman who is committed to mobilizing society. They said, this is the second long walk to freedom, but they said they will shorten the walk so that it doesn't become a long walk, and therefore they will be partnering with the government, partnering with organizations, just so as to make sure that everybody is conscious, everybody is supportive, and everybody is aware of the fact that us being a nation that is known to be number one of this, number one of that, we want to be a nation that is number one with streets that are free for women to walk anytime they want to be on the street, and they should not be judged about what they are, how they are dressed, how they are walking. It's got nothing to do with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I'm going to do what I was supposed to have done before, to welcome all the media that is here, all the media houses. And now we go to question and answers by media. The facilitator is Ms. Mabato Ramompi. Good day, everyone. My name is Mabato Ramopi from the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. I must say I was very touched, Minister, when you started talking about the brutal cases, and I can even, feel the room and the atmosphere that it is very sad indeed. The Minister have unpacked the theme for 16 days of activism for violence against women and children 2020. The theme is Women Economic Justice for a Non-Violent and Non-Sexist South Africa. The call to action to the nation is working together to build a society where morality takes prevalence. And this call to action is informed by the brutal cases that we have experienced, on few months and over the years. And I think that I truly believe what the Minister is saying, to say we have to say it as it is. We have to mention these cases so that we are aware of this brutal cases and what they actually do to us. Previously we have experienced 17-year-old girl that was raped by 11 men, so I think we need to really talk about these cases.
The Interministerial Committee, they are launching 16 days of activism.
Answer session. We will start by taking the questions on the floor, and then we'll open up to the ones on WhatsApp. Before you pose your question, may you please identify yourself, the media house that you are representing, and then pose the question. I think you are already aware of who is on the panel. We have the Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Maite Nkwane Mashabane. We have the Minister of Social Development, Minister Lindiwe Zulu. We have the Minister of Police, Minister Becky Etsele. We have the Deputy Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Professor Klengiwe Mkhize. We have our Program Director, which is our DG Advocate Joyce Maduleke. With that, we can start with the questions. The first questions from the floor.
Good day, it's Posterman from SABC TV News. Mine is just a quick one. We've been here a number of years. I could literally take my script from last year, copy paste it and file it for today. It's the same issue, raising the same concerns. Does this actually make a difference, this 16 days of activism? And what difference is it? Have you tracked to see if it does actually have an impact and reduces the cases that we're seeing? Because it seems to be the same old script and they're not seeing the results. The Minister spoke about 8,000 cases of rape in just 3 months. So yeah, are any of our efforts really working? Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Zikona Chana from Newsroom Africa. 2 quick questions from me. I just want to get the stance of the committee on people getting parole when they have been convicted of rape or gender-based violence, as well as bail for accused, because we have a case now of the man in Pretoria who allegedly raped 2 minors, but he has a previous case and he was just out on parole. And then just the second one, and I'm dealing with the story with someone whose partner is out on bail, but they've been beating them up consistently. And the second one is, if you can just give us some examples of the work that you will be doing over the next 16 days, and what plans are there to make sure that this goes on beyond the 16 days?
Okay, can we take the next question? Okay, none, thank you. Minister?
Yvonne,
Is it working?
is it working? No.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. They haven't
The minister can
adopted
go to the police.
it. No, they haven't adopted that mic. Well, Sipho, we have made a call this time around to say we call on you. This is going to start with you. When we meet again, we should be asking, working for SABC, what did you do when that call to action came about to say the things that Minister Twele spoke about, that he stopped a car in the middle of Germany and asked 4 young women who were looking nice to say, why are you alone and looking so free? They said it's a taboo in our country. A call to action we have made today is the difference we think we are making. Fact that people are reporting cases, and if they report cases on Friday and want to withdraw them on Monday, they can no longer do that because government will take the cases on whether you have withdrawn or not, because we must deal with this case once and for all, even with the lockdown. By the way, COVID hasn't left. COVID is still here with us. That's why it's even like we're getting into another something that we don't want to see. The theme of this year, it's about Pillar 5 of the NSP that says empower the women economically, open access to business opportunities, make the 40% set aside a reality, have people who stand up and be counted women who should not remain in relationships for economic reasons. We are now sitting on ministers of the economic cluster that as we champion free trade, we must say she trades. Open Vuranamasango. Women must be able to do things they are capable of doing. Taking care of Sipho and brothers and sisters without fear. They must not be what Maya Angelou said. I heard that caged bird sing. Women are tired of being properties of other people. You know, not so long ago, before our first democratic president entered the Nelson Mandela, the UN buildings, he said, we were the skunk of the world. Now we have joined the international community. Now it's like we really want to go back and be a skunk where women and children are slaughtered. Skunkness, no more. Enough. It's enough. And it's going to start with you, my brother. We are ending the sketch. Deal with COVID because we don't know. The whole world is dealing with it. But this one of brothers killing sisters, fathers, and killing wives, and so on and so on, it really has to stop here. The difference we make is that people are no longer scared to report. And if they do try and withdraw, the things will be followed up. We have the document that we have been referring to with 6 pillars. Every minister says, I look at these pillars and I say, this are my focus areas. And we've also agreed on prevention and prevention and prevention. So what happens in your neighborhood, Sipo, it's your responsibility. SABC is a public broadcaster. It must continue to work with us to stop the sketch. The theme of this year, 16 Days of Activism, emphasizes on women economic empowerment, which is our pillar 5. Sikona Chwana? Yes. Minister Lamula is not here, but we are talking about this issue of parole. The parole boards are in different areas and they're not necessarily under the ministry. But with life sentences, President said we are going to urge that there is no parole for a person who kills an innocent woman. There's an organization with many males and a few females called Progressive Professionals Forum. They also have people who have retired from the parole board somewhere. So I was invited twice to speak to that group. Second time around came an old man who was retired and who was on the parole board. He said something very important. If we talk about healing, can we bring the victim and the perpetrator early, not after 20 years, after what, so that the healing starts as the other one goes to life? Because this time around, Mr. Pele will say much more, but I think we're no longer taking parole for granted. We're also calling on the justice system under Judge Mugoeng that can we slow down on making perpetrators look like they've got more rights than the victims? I'm raising this because through our department, we're also looking at Section 35 in our Constitution. The whole section is about the rights of the perpetrators. I think it needs some focus, because then we should have had a section that deals with the rights of victims. But there are bills, 3 bills, that are being presented through Parliament to make sure that victims do no longer feel like they're victims, but that they're survivors. And Watotakwa Vaima, like that organization of men that talks of Takorin. I participated in the men's parliament. I was invited. And I felt like we are changing. We will not have another 16 days that talks about how many have died. Like this year, our theme is, are you opening up for women access in the economy of the South Africa? As we rebuild our economy during alert level 5 of COVID-19, we must focus on giving women economic space to participate so that they can take their wherewithal and be able to make this nation grow and make us achieve the things that Dr. Mandela said we will when he entered the gates of the UN in 1994, when we came back and joined the international community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to respond to the question of what exactly are we doing. I think Minister Nkwana Mashabane did indicate in her presentation that we have put the whole issue of gender-based violence high on the agenda. That for me is very important. But also we've got the interministerial meeting that is meeting and ensuring that entire government has got programs that will be much more effective. And we can't give up. And that's the reason why earlier on when I spoke, I said the issue of violence in South Africa is an issue that we need to deal with in general. And also, as we have the National Council on Gender Violence and Femicide, we have provincial structures and we've got local structures. And the minister did speak about the issue of the district development model. We think that what we have to work on is the coordinated approach and the coordinated efforts, so that one hand knows what the other hand is doing, and that we also believe strengthening local structures in particular and mobilizing community at a local level is what's going to assist us in making the change that we want to make. We also, for instance, we are expected to report weekly to the presidency through Minister Nkwana Mashabane. We are expected to report on what are our programs, how are we implementing them, is there any progress, what is the impact of our programs. We also have the monitoring and evaluation system that is supposed to track the implementation of the 365 days plan of action. And this is across the board. It's not just the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disability or the Department of Social Development. All departments are supposed to report. And I think that, Minister, you've said it, that departments which are not reporting shall be named and shamed, because if we want to ensure that our plans are implemented, there's going to be that monitoring and evaluation. And as a Department of Social Development also, I do want to say that we've done a little bit of research and study of the lessons that were learned during COVID-19. And we are now working on the response to that. And I indicated earlier on that we upgraded and we're going to relaunch the GBV Command Center. That command center will have a greater capacity than the capacity that it has right now. We have also identified strategic partners to work with us. I did indicate earlier that we announced the Kuselega One-Stop Center as a legacy project by the President, because the Kuselega One-Stop Center is a center where women can be able to come and report, and we create a conducive environment for that. They also have all the different services that they need, the police, the legal system, all in one place. And this is what we would like to see, Minister, that we would like to see more of the Kuselega one-stop centers across the country, because then women will be protected. What we've also done as a department is to look at the shelters per district. We have done that. We have identified the shelters where we've got 52 districts across the country, 44 districts with at least one shelter, 8 districts without shelters, and a total of 136 shelters in existence across the country, of which 117 are GBV shelters. Now, what is important here is also the people that are behind the desk, who have to get the information, and therefore the training of those people is important. And we know that, for instance, with the police, the training is automatic. As people are doing the training, part of the training has to be that. Also, because of COVID-19, and because we had a better use of technology and a better use of getting information, we identified all the GBV hotspots, and we've done an analysis of the area or precinct, if you call it. We've got a whole list of those hotspots, and therefore in the implementation of our programs, the hotspots are not hotspots only for the Department of Social Development. They are hotspots for the Department of Minister Tele, that all departments. We have to use that information and that data. And so all the activities that we all have activities for the 16 days, but the emphasis, as Minister Maitengwana Mashabane has made the emphasis, is for us to have programs that are going to be 365 days. And we know that this is very possible. But you will be invited, media will be invited in almost all our programs, and we hope that you will be able to turn up for those, because you also have a responsibility, as Maitengwana Mashabane said. You have a responsibility because you have to communicate, you have to help us educate, you have to help us advocate, you've got to help us clean the streets of South Africa. Thank you.
People, we have to keep going. Just imagine if we come here and announce that we have failed. It can't be. It's just as 1912, just as your Bible says that you pray all the time before you die and all that, you keep going. There are impacts. One is what I raise here. The units that we have created, and they are really beginning to. So these are too many people that are doing life in South Africa. That is out of the work and continuing. The impact might not be tomorrow, it might not be the day after tomorrow, but there will be a time when the impact will really come. Even the number you raise, 8,000, 16% down than the normal time. Though we claim no easy victories about it and tell no lies, because it was under lockdown, and that could have impacted on the better number than that. But we at no time when we say here we are, we're not doing it. The question of bail and parole, I think the cluster is working much better. The justice cluster. We do discuss these things. There are things that they come now and again. For instance, the parole has gone twice now. First it was 14,000, second it's been 19,000. We do have sometimes serious problems with parolees, but much less than 19,000 people that have been released on parole. That's why the selection of parole must be really serious. As President did not just give parole, gave instructions. Those that have got anything to do with women, abuse, sexual rape and all that matter shouldn't come close to parole and all that. So, but we are working on those matters. The programs will work together, continue to work together. But as the police, let me say this, the coordination between police and prosecution is getting better. Advocate Tikok, who is a deputy of Advocate Batul, is working with our people that are on the FCS, so that they deal better from the very entry level of the case. But one thing, after the call of the President, I'm very, very glad to announce that we have created a special team that will look on what is called women abuse cases. We want all those piled withdrawn cases, we are revisiting them. Those that are withdrawn, those that were cases withdrawn that are not tried, but for some reason are not going. So we've put the team there that will call and pile and revisit all those withdrawn cases and see to it, was it enough for them, and then chase those people again. So it's what is called, is a strategy of dealing with the cold cases. Police, we are really working hard on that to find out why you would have raped a person, but there is nothing that was found. So it's an effort to say, don't think you have run, don't think you're safe. This is so we must find, chase you, find when you really think you are fine and safe, and that. So that's what we're doing with the police. That team is there. Those that they had the withdrawal and all that, they must get ready again. You are running. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Gender-based violence and femicide is a societal issue. We all have to play a role to ensure the eradication of gender-based violence and femicide. The campaign this year will be focusing on the implementation of the National Strategic Plan on gender-based violence, with more emphasis on women empowerment and Pillar 1, which is prevention. I think also it is very critical that we understand the causes of GBV, where it happens, and its consequences. Women are dying in their homes where they're supposed to be safe. They are dying in the hands of those that they love. Men are raping their own children. A lot of what ministers were presenting today are intervention plans after the effects. Hence the call to action. We need to build a society where morality takes prevalence. We need to revisit our values. Our nation is degenerating. The perpetrators of gender-based violence are becoming younger and younger by the day, and the cases are so gruesome. Parents need to play their role. Family structures are very important. Teachers, everyone has to play their role. We need to know what is right and wrong. So we all have to play our role in dealing with the scourge. Having said that, we will now take the questions on WhatsApp. Is Takalani here?
Thanks, Mawatu. The first question from WhatsApp is directed to Minister of Police, Minister Clare, and the question is, what did he meant by the training of police officers at the stations level to be able to attend to victims of GBV with the necessary sensitivity? The follow-up question is he referring, or he said, is he referring to a new initiative? And if that is the case, does it mean there was never any unit or officers dedicated to such cases? And this question was asked by Hauhelo from UFM. And we have a question from Haupalelu from Jacaranda FM. He said, can the minister give us an update on the implementation of GBV NSP? And the last question is from Mulifa from the Citizen. The question is, some NPOs have been calling for measures such as the castration of those guilty of raping children. Is government looking into legislative amendments with regards to